Yeah, hi, buddy. This is Heck. If you like the content for Hector Politics, like and subscribe. I don't have my comments on because I don't know. I got too many The reason I don't have my comments on because I got too many trolls, so I just decided that I'm gonna just disable the comments. Yeah, but like and subscribe to Hector's News and Politics. Well, just Hector Politics now. I shorten it. Yeah, more updated news, breaking news, U.S. politics, and just U.S. news and world news. Thank you. Cheers. Oh,
When we talk, we say we're talking. If we're not talking, when you ask me, no, we're not talking, I'll say it. But we are talking right now, we're talking, and we're talking at the request of Iran, backed by Saudi Arabia, backed by UAE, and backed by Qatar in particular, but others also. Many countries called, the leaders of many are friendly with a lot of them, almost all of them, one way or the other, and they all wanted to give this a last chance. This is a last chance. This is not something that, if it doesn't happen, this is a last chance for them to sign a good document. I think we're going to maybe get something, but I want to give them every last chance before decapitation. Very tough to do what we have planned, still planned. We'll see what happens.
yeah. So I guess Trump is uh, uh, the deal hasn't. Nothing's happened. Just negotiations.
As Israel intensifies its strikes in Gaza, the top diplomat overseeing the board of peace is slamming the deadly attacks and urging de-escalation. A source says that Nikolai Mladenov met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today to discuss an agreement announced by President Trump last week that would disarm Hamas and lead to the phased Israeli withdrawal from Gaza.
And while Israel has not publicly responded, one official says the IDF will not retreat from its current line in Gaza. And Hamas says it will only comply if Israel halts its fire. Israeli strikes killed 28 people in Gaza over the weekend. The IDF says that it was targeting Hamas. commanders. Well, officials estimate more than 1,200 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli strikes since the October ceasefire. CNN's Jeremy Diamond joins us now live in Tel Aviv. So much was made about optimism when this deal was announced on Friday. A lot of skepticism, too, given the players, specifically that Hamas said that it would lay down its arms. Now there appears to be a game of chicken in terms of who blinks first. Jeremy, what are the Israelis saying?
Yeah, well, Bianna, on Friday, as you know, when this agreement was announced and came to light, Hamas started talking about it in very clear terms, where they said, yes, we've agreed for the first time to this plan that would see Hamas relinquish their weapons. But at the same time, they also made clear that they were only going to begin this process of disarming if Israel first carried out a series of its own obligations under this ceasefire agreement, namely stopping the near daily Israeli strikes that we have seen in Gaza since this ceasefire began back in October. And instead, what we saw from the Israeli military over the weekend was a very clear ramp up in attacks on the Gaza Strip. At least 28 people were killed, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry, by these Israeli strikes since President Trump announced this deal in the early hours of Friday morning local time here. And the Israeli military said that in these strikes it was targeting Hamas commanders and militants, including some who were involved in the October 7th attack on Israel. Today, what we've been seeing is a diplomatic effort to try and bring Israel back into compliance with this agreement. Nikolai Mladenov, the High Representative for Gaza on the Board of Peace, who works very closely with the U.S. administration. He met with the Israeli Prime Minister today, and I'm told by a source that Mladenov was there to speak to the Prime Minister about implementing this deal going forward, and included in that was a request for him to stop these Israeli strikes that we have been seeing in Gaza. Now, it's important to note that we haven't seen any additional strikes in Gaza since yesterday evening, and so the question is, was this ramp up something that the Israelis were doing in order to carry out several additional strikes before they would agree to the halt that the U.S. and the Board of Peace are asking them to, or is this simply more of Israel defying this ceasefire agreement going forward? We will get the answer to that in the days and weeks ahead. But it is important to note that amid this meeting between the Prime Minister and Nikolai Mladenov, the High Representative for Gaza, an Israeli official told reporters today that Israel would continue to thwart any threats that it sees in Gaza, and also that Israel would not withdraw from the current yellow line, meaning where the yellow line stands now after Israel seized additional territory beyond what was agreed to in that October ceasefire agreement. So a very, very delicate situation, and one that U.S. and Board of Peace officials anticipated would be quite difficult even after securing this agreement with Hamas following months and months of negotiations. They know that what lies ahead is going to be even more difficult.
Between July 19th and attacks on such neft, Lukoil, Gazprom neft, T-Boil, with powerful explosions, while long queues formed at those that remained open.
Russia says it was a deliberate strike by Ukraine on civilians in broad daylight, with 7 people, including 3 children, being killed in a drone attack on a Russian seaside resort. Ukraine has so far not commented on today's strike, but there clearly has been a willingness and capability over several months for Kyiv to go after Russia in its own backyard. Steve Rosenberg will have the latest from Moscow, but first, James Landale has our top story tonight.
In this war,
Nearly 65,000 families.
Even stopping for gas in Ukraine can now be lethal. More than 200 fuel stations have been attacked by Russia since June. That's about 3 a day. In a country where the war has shut down commercial flights, they are a lifeline with a huge role in a vast country. The pump's now a place to listen out for the buzz of drones and know where the bomb shelter is. In Zaporizhia, policeman Mikhailo ran in to help after a drone struck one station, but then he heard a second.
Получається, коли я чув, що дрон вже йде на зниження, побачив спишку, після чого одразу вже встав, побачив, що в мене поранена рука, поранені ноги, може, щоб налякати, посіяти страх, паніку.
We verified 30 of the estimated over 200 attacks in June and July. They fall across Ukraine, but most are close to occupied areas, the cities of Kramatorsk and Kharkiv worst hit. All in reach of Russian drones and intensifying, fuel trucks and containers targeted. On a simple level,
Yeah, like a couple of drones attacked some gas stations in Ukraine. I guess Ukraine attacked the beach.
impeding the war effort by making it hard to get gas, but also sowing fear far away from the front lines. The growing range of Russian attack drones making once safe areas part of the kill zone.
Заправки стали цими ключовими точками, чекпоінтами, які люди, коли рятувалися від Великої війни. Потім Росія намагалася...
Drone strikes on refineries. Putin's escalation. Understand the role that these fuel stops separate targets. It's clearly for Ukrainians a sign of Russian escalation, one that Western officials indeed warned about, and we have seen in July itself 427, as of yesterday, civilians killed by Russian attacks. That is a record since April 2022, and a sign that the escalation many were warning about would be the response to Ukrainian long-range drones hitting Russian targets is coming, I think, the sacrifice of civilians now being hit with even greater ruthlessness, Becky.
Russia is accusing Ukraine of attacking its e-commerce giant Wildberries. Officials say several Ukrainian drones.
Through tears, says she's lost 12,000 items of children's clothing. I hope I have enough strength and courage to get through this, she says. Over the past 2 weeks, Ukraine's deep strike campaign, usually focused on oil refineries or military facilities, has taken a sharp turn into e-commerce, hitting multiple warehouses belonging to one company, Wildberries, Russia's equivalent of Amazon, with around a 50% share of the country's online retail market.
It provided thousands upon thousands of individuals, sellers with income. And it created the whole universe of online retail.
A universe that Ukraine says now also includes sanctioned components for drone production and navigation equipment. We found drones and drone parts, helmets and bulletproof vests all available. One reviewer of this vest writing, I sent it to my son in the special military operation, Russia's official euphemism for the war. He's very pleased. Before the attacks, Wildberries founder Tatiana Kim was Russia's richest woman, worth over $8 billion. A self-made entrepreneur, now well-connected in Kremlin circles and deeply intertwined with the banking sector. One of Russia's biggest banks, VTB, recently took a stake in Wildberries' financial arm, and through its mounting debt burden. A fact Ukraine is fully aware of, says the co-owner of one of Ukraine's leading long-range weapons producers.
If we take it down, it would inevitably lead to the collapse of a huge number of banks, including at least VTB.
Wildberries is too big to fail, and the state will definitely support Wildberries in this or that form.
It's still burning after 3 days, says the seller, who drove to survey the damage at a Wildberries warehouse just outside Moscow. She says she lost around $100,000 worth of goods. Lives at risk, livelihoods up in smoke. A Russian success story, the latest casualty of Putin's war.
as the wars in both Ukraine and, of course, Iran continue, we often see President Trump sort of changing his mind, and that's perhaps the kindest way of suggesting it, on certain policies or strategies. We also see him turn his attention from one conflict to another based on, how things are progressing. How is this playing out on the battlefield?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the danger of not allowing those you're talking to know exactly what it is, what you want. I mean, some might say, the proponents of President Trump might say they're sort of genius trying to disrupt people and leave them always off their balance. But you also run the risk of the people you're talking to no longer really caring what it is you actually seek and what your policy indeed is. And that's the case, it seems, with multiple conflicts we're seeing at the moment. Certainly with Ukraine, we've seen signals in the past weeks that the United States, the White House, is feeling greater sympathy towards President Zelensky and the Ukrainian side, echoed by some key MAGA influencers, right-wing activists like Laura Loomer, who've suddenly switched from being avidly pro-Russian to now being avidly pro-Ukrainian. And indeed, President Trump, when he saw Zelensky at the NATO summit in Ankara, said he would license Patriot interceptors to be built by Ukraine. Radically, in an interview with the Financial Times just yesterday, he said he wasn't sure about that anymore, and licensing technology wasn't something, quote, that they did, but it's urgently needed.
I have to get going. I'm gonna end the stream. Cheers, everybody.